95% of children said play helps them relax. 95% of parents said that play boosts their family's happiness and well-being and creates stronger bonds. Okay, first up, I want to thank each one of you for taking time out to be here with us, and very, very excited because it's a round table on play. And Bhavana, thank you for this. Thank you to the LEGO group for powering the first ever roundtable on play and bringing play to the forefront for our children. Something so simple and so important like play is often taken for granted. I wonder why. Why is play such an important part of a canvas called childhood? Let me tell you why. Let me tell you some fun facts from the LEGO Play Well report that will reinforce the importance of play in our child's lives. 95% of children said play helps them relax. 95% of parents said that play boosts their family's happiness and well-being and creates stronger bonds. Over 90% of parents say play helps their child develop vital life skills, including the 3 C's, which is creativity, communication, confidence, all grossing over 90% and 92% on problem solving. This is what Erik Erikson says about play, and I know we all love and admire his work. You see a child play, and it is so close to seeing an artist paint. For in play, a child says things without uttering a word. You can see how he solves his problems. You can also see what's wrong. Young children especially have enormous amount of creativity, and whatever's in them rises up to the surface in free play. Maria Montessori said, "We cannot know the consequences of suppressing a child's spontaneity when he is just beginning to be active." But despite all of these benefits, we're still not playing enough. I wonder why. I'm sure you're wondering as well. 84% of children wish they could play more with their parents. 34% of parents admit their family doesn't play together enough and say lack of time, long work hours, too much housework, all are to be blamed. 39% of children feel their parents' jobs are actually coming in between their playtime. I'm honored and humbled to have each one of you here, and of course grateful to the LEGO group for powering us to drive this message of play. Do we as parents let small hands build their big dreams across their different passions and hobbies and interests? We will all be talking about how we can prioritize play for our children. We're all key stakeholders, and this is important to me and to you and to each one of us seated here today. Let me introduce everyone here today. We have with us Varun. He's of course a dear friend. He's the co-founder of
Plot Device. Yeah.
Plot Device. He's very hard to introduce because every day he tries to do something new. I must say he's a fitness junkie. He's a parent to 2, which is very, very important. He is an entrepreneur. He's a podcaster. He's a creator, and he's a very, very hands-on dad. So thank you, Varun, for doing this for us today. Dr. Swati Popat Vats. I don't know how to introduce you.
Just simple. I am the president of Early Childhood Association and Podar Education Network.
And someone who is always driving the cause for children. I think that's my introduction.
Absolutely.
Right? Dr. Shwetambara, who I also know as a friend, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course, thank you for having me. I'm a clinical psychologist and a psychotherapist. I've been practicing for 19 years now. But I think what is more relevant to both me and the situation here is that I'm a mother of 2.
Yes.
And I absolutely enjoy playing with my kids and wouldn't replace it for anything else as a parent.
Right. And of course we have Bhavana, who's part of the LEGO group and of course the LEGO team in India. So Bhavana, thank you and congratulations on the Small Hands Big Dreams initiative that's just launched at the LEGO playground today. I've seen it, I've just witnessed it. I'm going to head out back for my play pledge because I just feel that when I'm accountable and when I'm publicly accountable, I think we end up doing a lot more of living up to that piece. Okay, Varun, I want to start asking you this first question and taking back to what the research says. Kids feel that our work comes in between playtime. How guilty are you? And while I know that, we all know these facts, I want to know how are you making it actionable? Like how can we as parents who are working, multitasking, multifaceted, want to have a perfect body, perfect career, perfect everything, make time for play?
So my daughter's 6 and I remember when she was about 3, she started walking around the house with a fake phone, mimicking us, and that was like a signal to say 1 second she's showing us something. So we actually give her the power, saying when you feel like that Papa and Mama are talking too much on the phone, doing too much work, call us out, because we call kids out on things often, right? So it's like, can we give her that power? And she does that, put her phones away, she gets to choose what we all play with. Except for times when we tell her, okay, we can't put this away right now, but we do make sure that she has the power to almost drive play at home. It's not something that we have to drive, and so giving her that power has actually been amazing. She comes up with newer things for us to do all the time.
Right. Okay, Bhavana and Dr. Shwetambara, how do you guys draw those boundaries and say that this is play, this is work?
For me, I think it's become easier with me becoming a part of the LEGO group. I think it's become easier because my son actually believes that I don't go to work, I go to play. So he's jealous. He basically says, I want to go to work with you. But then, there are obviously times when you are stuck with work and you have to tell him, there's work and that's keeping you busy. But I think I have consciously, as he's growing up, I have consciously also realized that he learns best when he plays, thanks to the education system also, the way it's evolving now, and thanks to, whatever I learn from him, I see him learning the best when he's happy, and he's happiest when he's playing. So, I take back a lot of bricks and then I learn to play with him. So I think the boundaries are blurring now for me.
Okay.
So for me, as a young working mom, I think I figured out early enough that my son would have to accompany me at work. I built a little corner where he would hang out, and every now and then I would go over to that corner and double up, come up with creative solutions, talk to him about my work sometimes. He was little, but it was just engaging, and that helped me connect with him. Sometimes, Varun, like you mentioned about giving your child that power, I feel that some people don't have that option of backing away from work. Whether it's when I'm driving my kids to school, or I have to manage home and work. So I think finding creative solutions, just encapsulating those tiny moments and engaging in a playful way really helped me personally. It can be a game of Atlas, it can be just from peekaboo to cooking together. I feel that it's given me so much opportunity to engage with them just in a playful manner, and I think it's very important for all of us new age working parents who want to achieve so much, like you mentioned, that we double up and find creative solutions to engage in a playful way with our kids.
Right. Swati, tell me, what are the biggest excuses parents give why they can't play?
3 of the most important and common excuses I've heard is, I'm too busy. Number 2, I don't know what to play with my child. And number 3 is, mobile phone hai na, why should I play with my child? Better things to do.
Right. While we're on that mobile phone conversation, and it's recently, we were just discussing this before, which is about this whole study which has come out, which is talking about early smartphones with, being handed over to kids very early on is kind of causing a lot of stress on their mental well-being and health. And just to address that, what are the repercussions of that on a child's playtime, and what are the consequences if that playtime is substituted with screen time?
There is no doubt that this has its, a negative impact on children, on adults even. Call me a realist, I feel it's unavoidable. Today, if I had to send my 13-year-old son out for a class across the city, a city like Bombay, I really do feel better if he has a phone on him. So I feel some of this is inevitable, but differentiating between the utility, the functionality and the use of it versus play has really helped us. It's like giving a child, I've always used this analogy, just like giving them a knife if you have to and telling them how to use it. It is that harmful, it is that dangerous. You can't leave it on their accord to figure this one out, but rules and boundaries are absolutely imperative. And in my experience, not just with my kids, but also with a lot of cases, it has helped. Children are very intelligent and they like boundaries. Once you give them that, they will follow it. But I do feel that an honest, open, consistent conversation is very important when it comes to gadgets and social media.
So Swati, coming to you, we're talking of a 13-year-old versus kids as young as 5 and 6 being handed over, or sometimes even as young as 2 being handed over these devices. What is the impact of play on a child's mind between 2 to 6 years, and what's the impact of a screen on a child's mind between 2 to 6 years?
So I think screens have become the third parent. You know, I always say that when a child is born, the first thing that the child sees is a screen, because the dad is standing there taking a photograph. So the child imprints, you know how like ducks imprint? So they imprint on a screen and they think this is my parent. So when I cry, I'm given a mobile phone, so I feel okay. So when I cry, I must look at a mobile phone, not at my parents. And then to distract them, we give them mobile phones to play. So then they realize that for any entertainment, for any emotional needs, I must go to the mobile phone. And that is something that needs to be removed from parents' minds. They need to understand what they are doing to their children. Now, where play is concerned, play is childhood's work. So it's not frivolous activity as most people think. Now, when I'm not given that opportunity to play with items like blocks or toys or dolls or teddy bears or whatever, I'm losing out on 3 things. I'm losing out on collaboration, which means a mobile phone is just what it does, I do with it. So my collaboration is more with AI and not with HI, which is human intelligence. So when I grow up, I won't know how to deal with people. That's why these are the children who face problems in schools, because they don't know. Number 2, I won't know what to do with myself when I'm bored. Whereas when you play with toys, you know what to do. Here you are so constantly hooked and hyper-focused, there's no moment of boredom. But when you're playing with toys and you're bored and somebody gives you toys, you are now using your own mind, your ideas, your creativity. And number 3, very, very important, is communication. When you build something with your hands or you're playing, your instant reaction, you must have seen in children, is they want to talk to you about it. That doesn't happen when they're playing with a mobile phone. They in fact become lonely, introvert. So these are the 3 impact consequences, call what you may, but parents are not realizing that this is dangerous.
Varun, if I were to ask you, growing up we would think that, okay, I'll be this, I'll be a doctor, engineer, whatever. You are an engineer.
Yeah, I'm technically an engineer, yes, I am.
In today's world, we've studied something, we're working something, we're doing completely different jobs. What are going to be those essential skills that you feel you want to empower your children with, which will help them no matter what field they want to take in? Like, what do you think are those essential skills?
I'm actually going to pick up from what she just said, that is that social and emotional skills are like right up there, right? Because we're all just focusing on, even talking about how much can kids learn about AI. I found a course on crypto for 6-year-olds the other day, which scared the living daylights out of me. But in the world of tomorrow, having EQ is going to be far higher requirement to grow, because that's the one thing that technology can't take away, is that it's human interaction, it's social skills, learn to regulate your own emotions and feelings. And that's going to be, like, for us, we've spent so much time, and we realized, obviously, as first-time parents, we didn't realize till maybe our daughter was about 4 years old. But through the pandemic and until now, we've actually spent so much time in her understanding, the fact that she's feeling anxious before something. Our daughter went on stage for the first time in her school play yesterday, and I did this whole thing about how she should focus on the fact that she's doing this for herself, not for someone else. I taught her Navy SEALs box breathing, so she could learn to do that. Went a little further there. But just the fact that these smaller things, to take the pressure off that, I'm doing it for my teacher, I'm doing it for my parent, you're doing it for yourself. And that's what really kind of, we will really build kids for whatever is going to happen tomorrow. For me, that was like, my mother asked me when I was a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I want to be a drawer. I didn't know the word artist existed. But for me, it was literally creating worlds and coming up with stories around them. And that's what I would spend hours doing.
And you still do that?
Still do that. Now I do. Now I have a partner in crime with the 6-year-old, and eventually now the 9-month-old will grow up.
Yeah.
So it's just that. It's like you realize as you get older that that's what you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And you find ways to go back to that. And hopefully kids don't have to do that dance that we've all had to do.
Yeah, that's so true.
If you just allow me to pitch in, it's so significant that you say that, because psychosocial development actually starts early on, and the foundation of it lies in building a sense of self which comes through play. So, I mean, the first time when a child locks gaze with her father is when she realizes, I exist, I matter. You know, this is who I am, and I mean something, and thereon that journey starts. And you know, concept of object permanence, concept of collaboration, just developing autonomy, cause and effect. All of this can get aided through play in such a significant way. So in that sense, development, you know, physical development, cognitive development, which parents are so big about.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad you spoke about the social emotional growth and EQ, and all of those and these can actually be aided by play, through play. It's such a beautiful, happy way, method, not like you have to make them do something that they're not enjoying or you're not enjoying. This is, you know, mutually so much more happier.
True.
The play way.
Swati, I'm going to ask you, with your experience, play obviously unlocks these essential skills that you spoke of. Why do parents resist it so much? I know you said we're busy and all of that, but we're not the first set of parents who are the busiest in the world. So why are we resisting it so much?
I think it's been resisted since generations. It's now become part of our DNA.
Yeah.
Because as human beings, it was always all about work. That we had to work for our food, we had to work for our existence.
Yeah.
And there was child labor at that time, where you had to work on the farms, etc. So at that time, they felt that if the child plays, and I'm talking about the time of Frederick Frobel, the first father of kindergarten, he discovered that children play best. After that came Montessori and all that. And he developed a lot of toys which he called gifts. And he realized that parents are unwilling to send their little children to play because they thought this old man is crazy. He's going to make our children play with his worthless.
Yeah.
And that has been coming down now in every country. We can blame it in our Asian countries or tiger moms as marks, performance, all that. So my child will not do well in studies if my child is playing. And they don't realize, but what is something that we should celebrate about is the new education policy.
Yeah.
It talks about play, way, and experiential learning.
Yeah.
And that's what we should all be focusing on. I hope parents will now realize that play does not mean whiling away your time. Play means you are giving that cognitive push to your brain to find something more interesting, to concentrate, and to remember it better. Let me give you a simple example that when we say in the first 6 years, 85% of the brain develops. And why play? The right side of the brain develops first. And the right side thrives on play. And it's the right side which is in charge of long-term memory. So when you play with children and they learn through play, it's going in your long-term memory. You now teach this child through books and writing, it goes in the left. So which means that's a left brain learning. So which means it's going to go in the short-term memory. So parents have to put children in tuitions, classes, seekhta nahi hai, yaad nahi karta hai. Arey, teach through play, it will go in the right side. Right side is long-term memory. You got your, whatever you wanted, you've got. And just to add to this, I know coding and all this is much this thing, but I've written 2 books on coding for young children, which is completely non-screen based. It's play. And why coding? Coding is nothing but foundation for literacy and numeracy.
Yeah.
Coding is nothing but computational thinking. And you need it to teach children at that very young age that it's not machines who take care of us, we program machines.
Right.
You know, so, and I've also developed a website called Born Smart. It's for parents in the first 3 years. Play with your children. 8-minute games, 258 games, play with your children.
Right.
2-minute games. Why can't we do that?
Right.
So I think parents, the more, what you're doing, what Lego is doing is excellent. Because when parents realize the power of play, then they will not feel that, oh, my child is whiling away their time, and there could be better activities that my child could do.
Right. But, coming to that is, and adding on, is it because it was never part of a curriculum,
Yes.
like you said?
Yes.
Because education does not give
Yes.
importance to play, and especially as Asian parents, we are so focused on, like I said, result kya hai?
And I've noticed schools, when we talk to schools, okay, why don't you have a play-based curriculum? They say parents nahi aayenge. So I said to bow down to parents, you are taking out the play element, you are the expert, you should be able to convince the parent.
Right.
So I think somewhere schools also need to realize that you don't only have to be in that financial rat race, you also need to be in the cognitive rat race to help parents, convince parents what you're doing is right for their child and why.
Right.
That is very important.
Right. Bhavana, you want to add to that?
No, I was just saying that I think Swati summed it up very beautifully. So, when I look at parents, and I am one, and when I go to schools, the perspective is completely changing. We've grown up in a world which was very competitive, right? And I think we are, as parents, to be blamed for being very, very ROI oriented.
Yes.
Very greedy to say that if he spent 1 hour, what did we get out of that 1 hour? And typically what happens is we look at life in subjects, how good is he at math and how good is he at English. But unfortunately, life doesn't test us subject-wise, right? So what typically happens is when you're thrown into the world of work, is when you realize that life is not competitive, it has to be collaborative, and that is where I think we struggle, and that's where the people who emerge the best. Why is it that the front benchers, the first in class, are not the ones who are doing the best? You know? And nothing against them, but I will simply say that the world is changing.
I was a backbencher, so I'm very much in favor.
So I think we turned out all right, and I just feel that that's the world that we need to give our children. But we are scared, as parents, and we want to make out every minute of that time that the child is spending with books or toys or whatever.
I just want to add one thing. I feel for our parents, and my parents are slightly more evolved, thankfully for me, but the requirement was put every kid in a box. Like I come from my standard joke is I'm a typical Telugu boy, because half my family are doctors, half of them are engineers. The doctors stayed in India, and engineers went to America. Literally, that's the template of a large part of my family. My parents told me, do what you want to do, become what you want to become, as long as you find some stability with it. It shouldn't be random where there's no this thing to it. I still went engineering because I just went, but I realized that people around them kept asking, is he going to be this or that? It's not what is he interested in, what does he want to do. So are you in this box or in that other box? Which takes away from play.
Absolutely.
Because play is independent, right? You're not looking at something, oh, this is the plan I'm following. Looking at this, what can I make out of this? And if you look at kids and you give them stuff, they don't know the rules. They'll do whatever they want with it. And that also opens up the mind in terms of what you can do with it.
Also, Mansi, I don't think parents have that literature which teachers have. Okay, parents have heard about Montessori. But all these people, whether it's Froebel, Montessori, in India, Gijubai Badeka, parents don't know about him. Did you know that he set up the first Balwadi in 1920, before independence? And he believed in play. So it's not that it wasn't in our country. It's that parents are not educated about it. I always feel that don't ever make me the Prime Minister, because I will make parenting a course, and only if you pass the course can you become a parent.
But it's a valid point. It's the only job you don't require qualification for. And something which
No, but that's when you were actually talking about doctor, engineer and whatever, either it's family, either it's teachers who condition. So, I feel also plays come out of so much of conditioning, or career choices that come out of so much of conditioning, right? Because you're told as a child, nahi, ye to isse khel raha hai, ye to yahi banega. Ye to yahi banega. And therefore, your choices kind of are consciously coming in.
So I used to play teacher.
You have been teacher.
And I became a teacher.
And she was saying that parents are every time in class, and I didn't stay in class because I was part of all societies like drama, elocution. I was like, okay, I don't need to be in class to
That was so much fun, no?
yeah, to be doing whatever I'm doing. Shwetambara, let me ask you, parents aren't able to decipher the meaning of skills, you know, which are like, say, imaginative or creative or cognitive. And these skills are obviously, you know, they're very non-tangible, like I keep saying, they're not quantifiable. How would you explain the importance of these skills to parents? Like, if you were to just dumb it down for them.
I love that question. I wouldn't want to dumb it down for them at all. I do feel that parents have really risen up to this job. In fact, just, you know, drifting back into the previous conversation, I actually want to ease the pressure out on parents a little bit, because that pressure is making them push so hard, and the, you know, and the receiving end are little children. I do feel that parents are trying to understand, get a better grasp on these things, right from building self-confidence into learning how to collaborate at work, you know, in a big business meeting. I think every single skill can be built the play way. Not only introduced, created, but grown, proliferated, sustained, maintained, and can be done through the play way. Now, our focus becomes skills like, you know, physical ability, cognitive ability, IQ, even EQ to a certain extent. I think one of the most important things that needs to be taught, encouraged in a child, is a healthy sense of self, you know, valuing themselves. And it's amazing how play can help that.
Absolutely.
Other than these essential skills that I feel that we're talking about, you know, autonomy, problem solving,
impulse control,
collaboration, do you know how significant play is in recovery? I think all of us need to understand, recognize that play can help us restore ourselves.
Play therapy.
It can help recovering. One of you mentioned that, you know, when you're playing, in one of your quotes, when a child is playing, you know what they're thinking. We use it for projective techniques. Sometimes children are not able to articulate what they're feeling or what they're going through, and we use these techniques and we let them play and we let them draw. We let them just pick something, and that tells us so much about children. And I think that that's true even for adults. And so the significance of play, it's irreplaceable. Every single thing that we achieve, if it is done, you know, in the play way, I think it just eases out a lot of the achievement, takes away from the pressure of, you know, having the result-oriented attitude. So in terms of parents, I think hats off to them. I think parents are doing a great job. Maybe I'm a little at the other end of the spectrum here. So I really want to ease that out. Even if you're just having a conversation. See, play has a lot to do about perception. This conversation can be play, right? Yeah. Correcting a child, encouraging a child, motivating a child can be done in the play way. So yes, toys and tools are important. But even in the small interactions that we're having with children, if we just introduce that play, we allow for that perception there, I think it can make a big difference.
Love that. I absolutely love that answer. So if I was to ask you, how can play stimulate all of these skills that I mentioned, the cognitive development, problem solving, creativity, critical thinking? Because you've obviously seen so many kids over so many years.
So why does Google Office have a play area for adults? Because they've realized that the more people play, the better will be their productivity. So that's where we should move from. That's the example I give parents always. That you all talk about offices that have a play area for adults.
Right.
Then why are we restricting play in children? If adults can thrive so much on play, think what it can do for children. And I also tell parents, go from the known to the unknown. I know your child is addicted on the mobile phone. That's the known. Okay, start playing games on the mobile phone with your child. That's called co-playing.
Yes.
And then from there, take your child to your favorite game. It could be a board game. It could be play with blocks, you know. And if your child is about the age of 6, they love competition. So then you can have a competition of who can build the tallest tower. And who can build the best bridge, you know, stuff like that. So it's all about, now look at what we did in all this. You're talking about creativity, you're talking about collaboration, you're talking about impulse control, that I want to do something else, but I love my dad or I love my mom, so I'm going to play along with them.
Right.
You know, so it's very, very important that these are not just words. They actually happen in play.
Yeah.
You talk about thinking skills, logic.
Yeah.
You talk waiting for their turn.
Yeah.
Go to a public park and let your child climb that slide. I am against dads who take their children and plonk them straight directly on the slide, and their children miss out on that climbing part and the waiting part.
Yeah.
And that's more important. You know, waiting in that line, that's teaching you so many social skills. Climbing up is teaching you that effort. And then you get that slide. So public parks, why were they made? They were made for play. But sadly, as soon as the child comes in grade 1, we remove the slides, we remove the jungle gyms, we remove all this, and we say, "Nahin, now you're going to focus on study."
Right.
So I think it's very important that in homes, why don't we give a play area to every child? Why not? Why only to the below 6 years? I think there should be a play room in every home. You know, we don't need many of the rooms that we make in our homes, but if we had a play room, that would be a place where people can, you know, in our schools, we have a play wall. So we've used our corridors and we put Lego on all our walls. So it becomes a play wall. So, you know, it's very important that children sometimes want to see perspectives. I'm always sitting down and looking at toys from down. Now look at it on a wall. So toys do this to you, play does this to you, it gives you perspectives, it gives you so much.
Right.
And I am in my best element when I'm playing because I'm relaxed.
Right.
Dopamine, that's the happy chemical. That's rushing to my brain when I'm playing.
Right.
And happy chemical, happy person, but good memories, intelligence, you got it?
You know, another question that we get asked on Kids Stop Press very often is, when I'm playing, should I allow my child to lose? I said, of course.
Of course.
You have to let your child win.
Just
and
go with the
lose.
flow, yeah.
Make them lose more.
Yeah.
That's what's going to teach them resilience.
Absolutely. That's what
the ability to accept defeat
Absolutely.
and still move on, you know. And I hate this word allow.
Yeah.
I hate this word allow. Teachers use it a lot. Can I allow children? I said, you are nobody to allow children to do anything. You're there to support, nurture, mentor. That's it, period.
Right. Varun, you said you were an average student.
Yes.
And you took
I was,
really long to finish your degree. I'm not saying it publicly.
I'm a very, very well-educated engineer.
Okay, if you have to go back and for your daughter, I want to know, how should classrooms be designed? You know, and perceive play, and how will it help children of tomorrow to be more equipped? Like, if you were to just, like blank canvas, how would you design it, incorporating play?
So I've actually spent some time in my daughter's classroom, right? And it just felt like this massive shift because my visual was, you know, stacks of benches focused on the teacher on one blackboard teaching, and here this was like almost like a circle. There were smaller tables, there were blocks, there was stuff to scribble on. That's the way it has to be. It almost has to be this circle of like safety, that you can do stuff, you can mess things up, but also put things back in their place after that.
Yeah.
That's how it has to be, because I feel being messy is important. Everything can't just be in this. And I go back to the play area thing which you said. I think adults need to have toys as well, right?
Absolutely.
So the joke in our house is the fact that on weekends my daughter comes and says, "Can I play with Papa's toys?" And so I'll take out my blocks and my figurines and my bobbleheads and stuff, and she'll take hers and we'll mix them up and we'll play. And then we'll again, like, both of us have, like, I'll settle both because at some point she'll move on to something
My
else.
office is a museum of toys.
Yeah.
Bring her to my office. She'll love it.
Yeah, it's the most, and for adults it's great. I think as parents we'll take our roles less seriously if
Yes.
we play as well. And I wish that was a part of the whole process, right? Like if I go back to school, I'm like, maybe it didn't have to be so serious.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if I got like
Do you
lesser
remember
marks in
10th
third standard.
marks?
I was telling someone yesterday that 10th standard marks are the most useless ones.
Useless,
Because I don't
I
know what to do with those. Because
Useless.
Progress, right? And I was like I got good marks only in 10th standard. The only time I got good marks was in 10th standard.
So that's why he's retained his mark
I kept the mark sheet. But
Okay, Bhavana, I'm going to ask you. The LEGO group believes that the 5 super skills that every child needs are physical skills, social skills, emotional, cognitive, and creative skills. What are the top 5 flexible skills that come to your mind that you feel all kids should learn about?
Yeah, I think, it basically sums up to what we've been talking about, and I don't know if it is 3 or 5 or 7, but I just believe that the most important skills, and I think everybody spoke to it, and I realize it with my own child and at my workplace, are the ones which equip children with the social and the emotional skills, So, and I'll say this with an example, when it comes to my son, I took a long time to decide on which school should he go to, because I had a very set pattern of what school should look like, because I had been raised in a very traditional school like all of us. But when I put him in the school, and I'm very happy with the school that he goes to, I realized that it was very different, very different from what I could have imagined in a school. But what I have happily done along with his teachers, is that I'm raising a child who's seeming to be emotionally equipped, and very socially aware, and that's where I place all the emphasis. So while he goes to play, he came back, recently from a football match, and he said we won. And he was really happy because his team had scored 4 goals and he had scored 1. And then I said, who scored the other 3? And he said, there is this girl in the football team. And I said, oh my God, like he's learned the concept of D&I without really teaching me that, and I respected that. And then very recently again, there was a dance that was happening in school. And we went to school, and one of his teachers said that, you should be really proud of your son, because we asked the children to pick up one partner. And there was this child who's physically disabled. And it was a competition, so there was no binding to pick up this, and he spoke up to that guy and he said, I want you as my partner. And the teacher was really proud, and I obviously, as an emotional mom, had tears rolling down, saying, where did it come from? But I just feel that he's quite aware of what's happening around. He's quite sensitive, and I think those are the things that we need to pack up our children with.
Right. No, and again, I also feel that everything is not a one-time fix, right? It's like these bricks, right? You're building them one day at a time. So it's all that you've done over the years that's kind of coming alive on that particular day, and of course in the future days as well. Swati, you've, the ECA recently launched their first play policy. And I want to ask you, how are Indian parents perceiving the importance of play versus the global counterparts?
Okay. So I would give credit to Reggio, Emilia. Reggio Emilia is a town in Italy, which is where the municipality of that town set up these play schools after the Second World War. So when this town was destroyed during the Second World War, they decided, what should we rebuild first? Should we rebuild the church, the homes, or schools? And that's when they decided, if we rebuild the schools first, children would be busy in the schools, and we can rebuild the town then. And Reggio Emilia is a concept based completely on play. And Reggio Emilia has a poem called The 100 Languages of Children. And it's such a beautiful poem, and it says that children have 100 languages, but we, the school, culture, and society, steal the 99. And then we tell the child that there is only one language, which is what we are doing as parents. So global community has woken up to this concept almost 25 years back. And I think because the Reggio exhibition used to go to different countries, associations like ours, like you have the NAYC in USA, you have the ECA, that's the Early Childhood Australia in Australia, they worked hard to ensure that it comes to policymakers. So they have gone to the government, changed things in the government, because once you change things in the government, it changes in the school, the parents have to accept it. India has just woken up to it. And that's why I said thanks to the National Education Policy, which is now mandating that it should be experiential learning and play. Hopefully it will come. Sadly, our country, education is a concurrent subject, which means every state will now, hosh posh, they'll make of the national curriculum framework and bring their own state curriculum framework. But I hope play remains. But if we really want it to remain, each one of us has a duty. That's what I tell everybody. You have a parent sitting next to you. My husband refuses to sit with me in flights because he says you will catch every parent and you will start talking to them because they would have all bought a screen, to keep the child busy, and I carry with me blocks and toys in my bag because I know there will be a parent on my flight who will have a screen. So I give those to the child and I tell the parent, now look how she is interested. Why do you carry that screen? Yeah. So it's important that parents, let's not look at them as villains. It's time we understood that it's a community, it takes a village to raise a child.
Right.
And parents are the sarpanch of that village. So if you're not able to convince the sarpanch, forget about any change happening. And I think that's why your group, LEGO, everybody is doing this work to coming together, and I'm sure there's going to be change in India.
Lovely. There's hope. Bhavana, you've launched such a fabulous initiative with Small Hands, Big Dreams right here today, and built such a brilliant playground, which is powered by the LEGO Group. What was the thought process? Like, where did this whole campaign thought come from, Small Hands, Big Dreams?
Yeah, I think Swati answered that question partly because I do feel that, when it comes to children, like I said, they naturally play. It's a natural form of expression where you can see everything coming out. They're laughing, they're crying, they're screaming, and that's how they are. They know that's their superpower. But when it comes to parents, it's basically about saying what will happen in that 1 hour of play. Is it going to be a trade-off between how much he or she will study and how much he or she will play? And that's where we sort of take it off. We do not realize that when children play, if we were to listen to what they are saying, they're basically saying, let's do it. Let's do it together. Let's do it differently. Let's do it in another way. So it's basically teaching them to be resilient because they are realizing that there's no right way or one way of doing it. There are multiple ways of doing it, So it's sparking creativity. It is sparking collaboration, all of which they will actually need, the world needs a lot of, right? And we are probably, as stakeholders, standing, as adults, I'm saying, standing in the way between children and play. So we do want to bring a community of parents, a community of adults who can in turn raise another community of adults, and so on and so forth as we move forward, that never stops playing, So that's the generation that we want to sort of raise, because like George Shaw said, it is we don't grow old because we stop playing. We just stop playing, and that's why we sort of grow old. So that's where the whole idea of Small Hands, Big Dreams came up, and we said this is what is going to bring together the key stakeholders in terms of play, and we really want to inspire all of the adults to come, and we say it's adults welcome.
I like that. And also you've launched something which is called the Play Pledge.
Yeah.
Why do you want us as parents to pledge? And why? What was the thought behind the Play Pledge?
Like you said, when you're all role modeling to the children, and when we basically take that pledge, it is about being accountable, right? It is about saying that I have taken the pledge. True. And now the children are watching you. Are you really committing to those hours of play? Are you really letting yourself be? And once you get to that, you will really understand that joyful focus that comes in when you are playing. Right. I find it like meditation.
Absolutely.
When you're just building, and that's how we want to sort of take it forward.
And then children will like pop say, आपने तो वो pledge ली थी.
Yeah, best of power, no? Children have the best.
Yeah.
That's why I think we should all.
That's something we'll never forget.
Yeah, that's something we'll never forget. Shwetambara, we're talking of all of this, but what happens if we fail at playing? Or what happens if our kids fail at playing? What are the consequences of this inability?
The consequences can be dire, of absence of play. I think it's one of my favorite questions. See, what play does is it helps us learn to communicate and engage, right? Not just with the other, but also with ourselves. So that intrapersonal play, when we start building a voice and start talking about who I am, what I'm doing, how I can solve this problem, and also learning to engage with another person. So this form of communication, both on the inside and outside, is extremely important. When you don't build a healthy voice, a healthy dialogue with yourself, and a way to actually be able to connect with another person, I mean, the consequences can be significant. There is research on a lot of, in criminal studies and, neurobiological research, psychological research, where they have found that a lot of these people had significant absence of play in their childhood. Missing toys, missing parents, missing significant others to engage with them. And so absence of play can be harmful, can be very, very damaging. And so it's important that we understand what exactly play is doing here, is that it's helping us create a voice. Social animals, human beings are social animals. We're thinking animals. Play helps us learn how to think. How do we learn how to think? What is thinking? It's self-talk. We're talking to ourselves. If you're thinking about something right now, what are you doing? A thought is self-talk. And play helps that, helping us communicate with each other. And so it's crucial that we give children and adults an opportunity to play and learn how to think and socialize.
In fact, Mansi, when we launched that play policy, we appealed to doctors because the Indian Association of Pediatricians is a joint partner in that. We appealed to doctors to prescribe play.
I love that.
Yeah, that when they come to you for anything, on your medical pad, in your scrawly handwriting, please prescribe at least minimum 1 hour play. If all doctors do that, parents would really take this seriously.
Absolutely.
I think adults need that as well, right?
It is something that we recommend as treatments for anxiety.
No, now prescribe it.
Yes, absolutely. Very, very important, but can cause anxiety, depression, dementia. We're prescribing it actually in the geriatric population also, so that they can create a little bit more stimulus and neural activity in their brain and benefit from it.
Right, I'm going to ask all of you this question, and anyone can choose to answer it. Is play benefits or otherwise play alone and play together? How different is it? Because usually parents would say, Acha, I'm busy, you go play. Is that okay?
So
is that okay 99% of the time as well? That's again.
So there are stages in play. You start with the solitary play stage, then you move on to the group play stage. But if my child is 6 and above, they want cooperative play.
Right.
And they will seek out people, partners to play with.
Right.
So if a parent if the child has come looking to you to partner in play, and at that time you say, no, I'm busy right now, then if it happens multiple times, it is going to damage the child emotionally. So it is very important that there should be enough opportunities for children, especially when they seek you out. Of course, you can have your boundaries that, when I'm on the phone or when I'm doing work, I will not be able to play with you. But say you're watching television and the child comes to you. You can't say this news is very important. No. Stop, halt that activity and play with your child. Because now your child, it's like as an adult, if I seek you out and you always rebuff me, I am going to be hurt. My self-esteem is going to be hurt. So it's very important that, no, you cannot always say no to your child that I can't play with you.
I think it's important to build enough time where you can play by yourself. As a kid, even because it's as important to have social, but also to be able to say, I'm self-sufficient.
Me time.
So I was that kid who would not share his Legos, for instance. Very clearly, I had bags when every single relative from the States, because that time wasn't available in that, not sharing with my friends. But I'd want to go out and play other stuff, right? So you got to have stuff you do socially, but you have to have things that you can just do by yourself. We actually push. I mean, son's too young yet, but we push our kids to do that. Can you find things to play by yourself, which doesn't require intervention or even addition of another person? But there are many things you should do which should actually make you feel like you're part of a life.
I think there should be a balance.
It shouldn't become an either or.
Right. You guys want to add
You can't draw lines.
Yeah, I just want to pitch in here. Just maybe a little bit later on, it's important to also understand the child's personality.
Yeah.
There are some children who actually do blossom more playing by themselves, and then if you insist and push them
Yeah, you
into
shouldn't do
social
that,
situations, which I find so many parents
Yeah.
doing out of honest intention of they should be more social, they should learn this, and that happens, but I think that damages children more. And of course, if a child likes to, play a sport or team sport or collaborative play, then create more opportunities for that, because then if you're going to insist, give them something to do by themselves, then that's not play for them anymore.
Right. Bhavana, asking you this, kids learning through play is how, we're all built to learn. We've all done that. Give us some examples of how children ideate and learn through building Lego bricks.
Yeah. So there's a very nice anecdote that one of the parents shared with us, and she said, "Do you know what my son says Lego means?" And I said, "No," and she said it means let go. And that's not what it has originated from, but I love the analogy, because I said, why did he say it's let go? She said, because he keeps building and then finally, it just comes crashing down, and then he doesn't know what to do, and then he's not attached to what he had built anymore. And he says, okay, that gives me an opportunity to build something else again. Honestly, when I build something, I'm very nervous about it coming down after a while, and then I wonder what happens if I've got a step wrong. But children are designed differently,
Right.
So I do feel that entire spark around, letting go, the entire thing of being resilient enough to saying that this was one problem that I solved and let me just build it again. I think that entire piece of saying that, okay, if this set of bricks was meant to be a house and now I can maybe build a castle out of it, that entire thing of imagining something. This is a set of bricks that is sitting in front of us, and if you put 5 children around, they will have 5 different things in their head to what they can come out with, depending
Right.
on what is it that their passion points are.
Right.
So I think that entire thing of creativity, that entire thing of what is it that they can imagine out of this, and then allowing themselves to build, go wrong, not be attached to results, understanding that they haven't failed if it's not built a certain way, but there was a different way of designing it from what is printed on the box,
Right.
So those are the things I think
Yeah.
which...
You've almost led me to my concluding question, which is, as parents, we're buying the next toy even before our children have exhausted playtime with the first one. And obviously, I hear a lot of parents saying, how do we build that drive, that resilience, that creativity, get them to play and build on, using the same Lego bricks, build different things, because they're just growing up in abundance. So how are you guys addressing that piece in terms of making sure that they're building on and it's a new toy each time?
So there is Froebel. I'm very fond of Froebel. He had 3 ways of using blocks. He said forms of life, forms of beauty, and forms of knowledge. So the same blocks he gives the children and say, build something which are forms of life, which means things that you see around you. Mm-hmm. So you're now observing and you're making things like a door, a couch, a table, etc. Now he gives them the same blocks and says, now forms of beauty, something abstract, something that you have created. And then he uses the same blocks and says, now forms of knowledge. Tell me what shapes you can see, what colors, what size, can you do addition with it, can you put 2 and 2 together? And that's exactly an experiment which we did in our classrooms with 6-year-olds. We told them, if we give you these Lego blocks, what should the 3-year-olds do with it? Mm-hmm. So they were planning for them. And you'd be surprised, they said dominoes. So which means if I have a block that has 3 on it, the other person has to put another 3. Mm-hmm. Then they said addition. Then they said painting, block printing. So you get different prints. Yeah. So look at that. So they found various ways to use the blocks. One of them even said, I will make a structure, photograph it, and then others have to copy it. Oh. So you're looking at how each, because that's also, it requires a lot of attention to detail. So it's very important that we have the wealth of knowledge from all these people in the 1800s. Mm-hmm. If you even start using it now with your toys at home, forms of life, forms of beauty, forms of knowledge, you've covered it all.
Do you guys want to add?
A tough one to follow. This thing. But I look at play as a very simple thing of the fact that if you make it it's not something you add into your life, but it's a constant part of your life. That's all you need to do. It could be as an adult, could be as a parent, could be as a kid. Something you do after, like, okay, you have the school work, but maybe I'll find some time to do this.
Yeah.
Or I have work, maybe I'll find some time. Like, some of the best times we've had, and even before I had a kid, right? Like, I remember some huge Star Wars fan, so we had this huge, the Millennium Falcon set, which takes about 8 hours to build. It was one of the first projects that me and my wife Pooja did. We spent 8 hours and we spent time building that. I mean, we still have that at home. And now our daughter plays with it, and I'm like, you can't move the pieces out. I don't know where this goes. But you got to make it a part of your day to day in different ways, and not feel like you're adding it in when you maybe have time. It is part of what it helps build that balance.
No, absolutely. I remember my daughter is fascinated with Harry Potter. She's not, I think, fascinated. She's obsessed beyond a limit. And I had got the Lego Harry Potter December, during Christmas holidays. And I said, this is our project because we both love building. And I said, maybe we're not going to do all of it in one go, but bit by bit, every day and every morning, we'd actually wake up and it was like, I would look at her, she'd look at me, and I'd be like, okay, let's start. And for a change, she saw a different avatar of her mom who was saying, okay, bath, breakfast, brush can wait, let's start building, right? And I think that was just I think that was so liberating that we're not instruction
That's what play
manuals.
does,
And moms can also play, right? They're just not instruction manuals. So I absolutely love that.
For us, with every toy, reflect and redo is a very big value. And so Lego is a very big part of our interactions and the way we engage with each other. We don't just use it to build. We use it as currency. We use it as rewards. We use it as, just tokens for various things. And every time we build something, we have more fun undoing it and redoing it. So redo is a really big one because then every time we're redoing, the kids are coming up with different things. Except once my son got so bored of doing the same thing over and over again, using the same blocks for different things over and over again, that he actually made a craft pen holder. He stuck them together. He said, now you can ask me to redo this one. But I thought that was incredible as well.
Yeah, that was incredible.
And so, I think just the ability to be able, it gives us the opportunity to make something and undo it. I think that for us is a really
Can I add something here? One of the most important things that I like about Lego, people talk about fine motor development. There is a sense in us called the interoceptive sense, which is about force. So when you put a Lego brick onto another one, you really have to be careful about the amount of force you are using. And that amount of force which you're training your fingers on is going to help you in writing. It's going to help you as a surgeon when you hold instruments. It's going to help you in any profession. I'm a chef, I'll hold something. I'll hold implements all my life. So it is things like this when we say play. People just don't understand that play is, and that was a compliment that a surgeon gave us. His child was in our school and he says, well, my trainee surgeons are not able to hold implements. They don't have the tripod grip which you are training the little ones on. So that is what the power of play is.
Right.
And also what it becomes, right? The other day, and so we give our daughter her iPad on weekends, and she has periods, and oftentimes she wants to play rather than watch. But I was fascinated to see what she was watching. Is that some kids build an entire piece and has the characters and is making the voices and telling a story. She's watching that, saying, "Papa, can we make this?" I'm like, I'm thinking about this. I'm like, 1 second. She's learning how to play and build, but she's also now finding a way to take that as something she's imagining and tell a story.
Yeah.
Which we all did as kids, right? We all had that. We make voices and do that. But now they're saying, okay, now I think this is where the worlds meet. Like, we spoke about screen initially, spoke about this, but she's saying, why can't I? And she's like, can I start a YouTube channel? I said, not yet. That's where I draw the line, not yet.
When I used to be a teacher, I used to have the tiles. I would place Lego bricks or pens or anything on those tiles, and those used to be my students. So just
so sweet.
No, but that's true. Role playing is a very important part of our breaks as well. And typically what happens is when you said, what do we do with the box? I realized when I got the first box and, I was in a rush to sort of build it all together.
Yeah.
And when it was not getting done, there was also moments of frustration. You know, why is it not just getting done? Because I don't have time tomorrow to be doing this. But when I saw my son play, or when I see kids play now with that, I see that they really play. You know, they just don't build. So what they typically would do is they would maybe build a train today, and then just like Varun said, keep playing with the train, thinking of the train and coming to a station and so on and so forth, and build the bus in the set maybe a month later. You know, so I think what happens with them is we are building to complete, finish, you know, the task, and they are building to play, you know, which is where the concept of building, unbuilding, like Shwetambara said, and like Varun said, the whole concept of role playing, you know, all of that comes together, and that is what play is complete with.
Mansi, I think that's your answer. Parents want the product, the end product. Children want the process. That's why.
And you know, strangely, I feel that process gets interrupted after grade 7. I mean, after the child is 7, 8, 9.
Yes.
The play just drops.
By age, grade 3, I feel.
Yeah.
Chala jata
I feel like why can that play sort of not continue?
Exactly.
Into the lives of our teenagers, into the life of
Why not have a block play corner?
Extracurriculars. Plays
becomes extracurricular. Imagine.
Right? I want all of y'all to be evangelists of others taking the pledge. You know, given that we've spoken about the importance of play today, and each one of y'all are evangelists in those sense. So can we all like raise our hands and say we're going to be evangelists? And we're all going to take the play pledge and say that we're going to spread the word on play.
Totally.
100%.
We will spread the word on play.
Yes.
Thank you. And we're going to build the HQ.
Yes, IQ, HQ, and AI, HI.
Lovely.
We need a PQ. That's play quotient.
Wow.
Yeah, which adults also need.
We all need it.
I'm so happy that each one of you could make it here today and facilitate this process, be part of this roundtable on play powered by the LEGO Group. By 2015, the jobs we know today may not even exist. Who would have thought a drone pilot or a content creator could actually be a job 30 years ago? Like historian and one of my favorite authors, Yuval Noah Harari, said, the only skills we need in the 21st century will be to learn, unlearn, adapt, and now reflect and redo, like Dr. Shwetambara said. Through play, let your children hone their skills to think, create, and work together. Toys come labeled with age groups, but there is no one toy that comes starting with an age group but no ending age group, and that sparks creativity, problem solving, boundless imagination, communication skills, and confidence with play. And that's the Lego bricks for you guys. That's it. And you have all grown up playing with these Lego bricks. So let these small hands build their big dreams this year while learning through play. I want to thank each one of you for taking out time today and being part of this roundtable, and of course helping our discussion and helping us empower parents to prioritize play for our kids so they grow up to be successful people of tomorrow. Thank you so much.